It is an honor and a pleasure to introduce you to one of my good friends from the summer, from Major League Lacrosse, from the Denver Outlaws, Chris Bukowski, who also happened to be on many episodes of The Bachelor. So it's a timely interview. How you doing out there in Denver?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Let's just get right to it. What are some of the similarities of playing high level lacrosse and comparing that to The Bachelor? Because it is Bachelor season. I guess that we should preface this for everyone that's listening to the podcast. There's a lot of the demographic is about 25 to 45 male. So we won't get into the details about what's going on with the show. I just want to hear about your experiences. So compare the two. How do you compare lacrosse? How do you balance a life of lacrosse and The Bachelor?
Well, they're both very competitive. So you're competing to win on the field, and then on the Bachelorette, you're competing for a woman. So it's you're fighting for a prize. I guess I would hate to call it a prize, but I guess you're looking for your wife on the Bachelorette. So both very competitive, and at the same time, you build kind of a brotherhood too with the guys that you're there with, and just like you do in team sports.
We did some background research on you, and it says that you're dating a fellow Bachelorette alum, Katrina Bukowski. Is that true?
No,
you get your dating profile.
We need to update that about let's see, maybe about 9 months.
Okay, I mean, yeah, because I was thinking in the summer, giving some glances across the field, I was like, this guy's single. So I mean.
Yes, I was very single in Annapolis, still am, but yeah, Katrina and I hung out for a little bit. This was probably back in January.
Oh, so you guys just hung out. See, there's different
we didn't really date.
There's different levels of what the media wants to portray, and how a guy says, oh yeah, I dated this girl, I was fucking this girl for 7 months, but yeah, we were just hanging out.
So oddly enough, we were supposed to go out in a group, date on Valentine's Day in Chicago. And the two other people bailed on us. So it was just me and her. And then someone was snapping pictures of us while we were sitting there, and then got out to the press that we were, dating. And this was shortly after, because I got engaged on Paradise last summer. This was shortly after this engagement broke off. So it was this whole thing. Even though we were just hanging out, getting drinks.
Do you have commitment issues? I have
Clearly. Do you have commitment issues?
I just stay out of the relationship game. I just say I don't.
I agree. I'm at that point.
The guys that don't want me, that's the problem with me. But do you have commitment issues or mommy issues? What would you define? I mean,
commitment issues for sure. I don't know. At this point, it's I kind of like my life on my own, So it's if I'm gonna commit to someone to, spend the rest of my life with, she better be great, at this point. So,
like me, I'm fucking
exactly. There you go.
So you have the most appearances on The Bachelor. How does that explain your lack of game? I guess.
Lack of game. Who has a lack of game? Are you saying that from hands-on experience or?
I'm kidding. It's a joke. Yeah. So the most appearances on The Bachelor, how are each of those different? I really want to know how reality TV has changed over the course of the years. I mean, the first time I remember reality TV was The Real World, and it was The Real World, then Road Rules, and obviously
Survivor.
There is oh yeah, Survivor was a big one. There is just a different level of expectation for the personalities that they place now in the onset of social media. How has it changed over the course of your years on The Bachelor?
Well, so the first time I did a show, I was just turned 25 years old. So I'm 34 now. So I've been doing this over the course of almost 10 years.
Wow.
And it's changed tremendously. And you said it at the end there, all because of social media. So when I first started doing it, Twitter was the thing. Instagram just kind of started happening maybe a year later. And now it's just these people come on just to build their social media, clout.
It's true.
So it was way more authentic back then. We would get excited like if we saw pictures of ourselves in magazines or something along those lines. Now it's just like a whole different animal. Just Instagram, and it's a lot younger cast too these days, rather than the way they had it, back in the day.
Are the contestants on the show as fake as you think they are? Because I think that that's something that's such a lure of like The Bachelor. These contestants are they're just putting it on for the show, whether or not they put on a front that they're stupid and they don't know, so that they become America's sweetheart, or they're the tough guy, or they're the mean guy. How much is it the contestants and how much is it the producers behind the scenes pulling the strings?
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. I mean, the contestants know that if you're not some kind of character, then you'll get the axe. I mean, if you're not part of the drama, or if you're not funny, or if you're not mean, it's like, they don't want you there. So you kind of have to be involved or have some kind of different personality that isn't, boring. But the producers, honestly, you could sit there and say nothing the whole time, and they'll make it seem like you're either the worst person in the world or the best person in the world, just based on the unbelievable editing that they can do.
I'm not surprised. Were you shocked at any point after watching yourself on TV? You're like, that didn't happen.
Oh, all the time. I actually stopped watching. So after like the first 2 times I was on, I really didn't watch anymore.
Join the club. I haven't watched more than 5 minutes of The Bachelor. Our last guest, Joey Molinaro, was like, hey, Tuesday night, you watching The Bachelor tonight? I was like, I'm watching football. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, give it a chance. I was like, nah.
Yeah, no, if you watch like one episode, then even if you don't like it, you kind of get hooked on it. It's tough, but it's actually better to watch later on. We don't have to watch the commercials too if you record
it. Did it seem less contentious while it was happening than like while the final product was coming out? I guess that's kind of, I guess it's kind of the similar question.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you're there, you're not really thinking about what it's going to look like, to be completely honest. And if you're honestly, you can't, like, if you're too careful, they'll get you. I mean, they're making a show. Before you even get there, they know what they're going to do with you. So it's, you only have so much control.
So do you feel like you've been manipulated by the producers of The Bachelor?
Every time. I think I have them figured out. At this point, like, I have, seniority on most of the people that are still there. There's very few producers that still work there from when I was first on the show. Yeah. So I mean, they get me every time. They're great at their job. You trust them. You think they're your friends, but at the end of the day, they're doing their job.
Scummy. Which season of The Bachelor was your favorite?
Probably the first time I was on the show, and then the first spinoff I was on that doesn't exist anymore, called Bachelor Pad, were probably my 2 favorite seasons I was on.
Yeah. What do you still keep in touch? You said you keep in touch with some of the dudes that were on the show. How many close friends would you say you have still?
I mean, mostly more acquaintances than close friends. Couple close friends. Yeah, it's most of us don't live, close to each other. Here, I'm actually in Denver right now, obviously, and there's a lot of dudes that were on The Bachelor out here. So, we find each other here and there and hang out, but I wouldn't say I have too many close friends from the show.
Have you? What are your thoughts on the current season? Because that's about as big of the research that I did. I didn't do any research on the current season because I was like, listen, like no one's gonna want to listen to what's going on with The Bachelor. I'm sure that everyone's wives or girlfriends will update them. But can you give us like in a minute, like a synopsis of what's happening this season?
Well, so for me, I haven't really watched much of it. It's very easy for me to follow what's going on just by going through my Twitter timeline. But Claire, who's the Bachelorette, she's 39. Oddly enough, I actually went on a date with her on the first season of Bachelor in Paradise. Okay. So there's a connection there. So the whole thing is, she's the oldest Bachelorette ever. Obviously, this was being filmed during a pandemic, so they didn't travel anywhere. They just did this on one location out in California. And she pretty much is into just one guy super early on. The guys aren't happy about it. And I'm pretty sure tonight is when I don't know. I don't know. This is what I've read is when
Okay. Just spill it. We
she
want spoilers.
I'm pretty sure she quits the show tonight.
No.
And I
What?
think a new bachelorette takes her place. Yeah.
But does she take the guy that she likes with her?
That's as far as I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's gotta happen. Come on. If
Yeah.
she's gonna
So
dump out, then she's gotta be like, I'm taking my man with me too.
I'm pretty sure because she's only really into this guy. So
Wow. See, during a pandemic, that would be a fire storyline. I
oh,
gotta ask.
it's great. Yeah.
Is the host of the show Chris Harrison, Chris
Yeah.
Harris Jr., like the old cornerback for the Broncos? That's where my mind's at. Is Chris Harrison? He's he a real one?
No, Harrison's a good one for sure. I think since I've been around him so much, obviously you get more comfortable with each other. So he's a good guy for sure. And he's funny, he's witty, makes a lot of money. But no, he's humble. He's a good one for sure.
Okay. I mean, would you ever go back on one of the seasons, or you're done? You're just
At this point, I never say no because it's like, you would always think, why would I ever go back? So it's like, listen, if it's next summer and I'm single and, I got a couple weeks to spare, why wouldn't I?
No, you're not gonna have time because you're gonna be in the middle of a Major League Lacrosse season. And on that note, the
Yep.
Denver Outlaws. Ooh, this was such a fun summer, man. And for everyone that doesn't know, obviously all the seasons got canceled during the pandemic. And Major League Lacrosse was the first, outside of Major League Soccer, Major League Lacrosse was the first league to come back. And they condensed the entire season into a 10-day set in Annapolis. I mean, the timing of that, being in Maryland at the end of July was pretty brutal. It got up to 126 degrees on the fields, up to 140. I got heat stroke. Max Adler, the captain of your team, was sent to the hospital. I mean, I talk about the highs and lows of those 10 days. I mean, it was like summer camp to me. I had so much fun.
I had a great time too. And I think just it actually happening, the process of actually getting out to Annapolis and, meeting as a team for the first time too, because everything was just on Zoom calls, and all that stuff. Obviously, we have some guys out here in Denver, but everyone's kind of, spread out across the country, or a lot of guys are from Canada as well. So finally getting to Annapolis and meeting everyone and kind of coming together as a team, I think that was awesome because, we were in a lockdown pretty much. And this was kind of, things were kind of opening up a little bit. As you mentioned, MLS was going on, and then Major League Lacrosse, we were one of the first sports back. So getting back and being competitive and just kind of being around the guys and seeing what kind of chemistry they have was awesome. Summer camp, yes, I had an amazing time, ate amazing food, had great conversations, had some long late nights, and played there was a lot of competitive lacrosse being played.
One of the big things in the storylines of the summer was how close the Outlaws team was compared to everyone else. So each team, the 6 teams in the league, each one had a floor, but John Grant Jr. was saying that you guys you had to rip each other apart because they couldn't just get away from each other. Do you think that was one of your biggest strengths outside of the skill level that, the Outlaws team has had? What was that experience like? Can you describe just those late nights in the hotel rooms and just that bonding experience?
Yeah, I mean, those guys couldn't be separated. And I think a lot of that has to, the guys up front, I mean, as far as coaching staff, John Cohen and Ken Clausen, Matt Bockwit, obviously Junior. I mean, they built something here where everyone just kind of buys in. And then, the top guys like Adler and Mikey Schlosser, those guys have really kind of just reeled everybody in, and the chemistry was just unbelievable. The guys only hung out with each other, at the hotel. Even after the last game of the season, when we lost, it was tough to get everyone to leave. Everyone's still in contact, and I think that was a big thing was the chemistry, and it was hard for those guys to lose that final game, but it's definitely a brotherhood.
You guys lost twice in the championship game. In one of my pregame hits for ESPN, I said you felt that the ring was ripped right off of your finger. How does it feel to have the ring ripped off of your finger twice?
Yeah. I've been around these guys for a few years now, and I know, the previous season was a really tough one for them. So coming to Annapolis was kind of a chance, a little bit of a revenge opportunity to, go back and get the trophy. And obviously it didn't work out. So it was tough. And these guys are passionate. I mean, you see these guys, they are so passionate, and I love seeing that because, they're not your big four athletes. These guys are literally playing for the love of the game. And there's so much passion behind it, and they take it to heart. So it was tough to see them, come up short in the last game.
Coming up short in that last game, John Grant Jr., for those of you who don't know, he's like the Tom Brady of Major League Lacrosse. The guy holds every single offensive record. He is now a player coach, which is unheard of. He's played for over 20 years. The guy was getting 100 cc's of fluid leaked from his knees before playing, and he told me, at least in a private interview, that this was going to be his last year. But I mean, just seeing how much he put into that last game, I just don't think that he's going to hang it up just quite yet. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Junior's kind of like me with The Bachelor. He's always says he's done, but then comes back. He's actually a lot more successful than I've been on The Bachelor, though. I mean, Junior's been great to be around. The guys love playing with him, and obviously, he's a player coach. And the guy obviously is, I think, the greatest of all time. And it's just cool to kind of see him. It was cool to see him out there. At his age, I couldn't even imagine, being out there, and I'm 10 years younger than him. Shoot, even more. I don't even know. But the guy is just, it's second nature for him. And, it was cool to be able to watch him play and do some cool things, and mostly just talk with the guys, all the guys. I did some player interviews while I was out there, and all the guys just talk about how excited they were to play with Junior and learn from him. And, the history that the guy has in the game is insane.
Yeah, the talent that you guys brought back on offense. I'm sure that Junior rubbed off on a kid named Ryan Lee, Offensive Player of the Year. How special is he?
I mean, Ryan Lee is, I don't take favorites, but I love watching that kid play. He obviously has a knack for scoring, and he can get to the goal. But he learned a lot, from Junior, and Junior kind of took him under his wing, and they kind of bumped heads here and there, but it was more of a learning type thing. And Ryan listened and adapted and was great. I mean, he was unreal that whole season. So I think it was super beneficial for him to obviously play under Junior.
They talk a lot about in lacrosse the two-man game. I mean, that's a Canadian aspect. Do you feel like that's kind of the strategy of how you guys run your offense, or is there a different style that you run through?
Yeah, I mean, I let those guys do their thing. Junior was running the offense, and obviously, he knows what he's doing. So, but no, I learned a lot too. Like, the Canadian game's a lot different than, what we do out here. So, and Ryan is one of those Canadian players. So Junior as well. So it is different, but, I think it worked well for us. And, I think obviously next season we're looking forward to adapting to see, what we can fix and hopefully get that trophy back.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I hope that I can come back in full force. I made so many amazing friendships, relationships. The big glaring question that I think everyone wants to ask is, you talked about legendary players, John Grant Jr. being one of them, but the other one is a guy named Paul Rabel, who walked away from the league, started his own league, got hundreds of thousands of dollars in, advertising and seed money. Do you think it's a good or a bad thing to have a competitor like the PLL on the mainstream?
I think the PLL does a great job in different aspects, from a marketing perspective, from a brand perspective. I always think it's great to have competitors. You can learn from each other. Um, I would love to see, kind of a MLL versus PLL kind of all-star
Oh,
game or championship game.
ooh.
The way I look at it, obviously it's functioned as two different leagues. Um, I kind of see it as a National League and an American League type deal.
Mhm.
Major League Lacrosse, we've been around for 20 years, and obviously PLL is a new shiny toy. But at the same time, I think there's different aspects from both leagues. Obviously, PLL took a lot from Major League Lacrosse, and I think we're also learning a lot of different things that they're doing. So I think it's great to have competitors with anything. It's a good opportunity for lacrosse, and I think the more lacrosse, the better. The more people can see lacrosse on TV or anywhere. I think it's good to get in front of the non-traditional fans to get more of a fan base that's not engulfed in the lacrosse world.
This summer, Black Lives Matter was such an initiative, and it was pushed to the forefront of Major League Lacrosse that it had to be addressed. Just the racial injustices of the players that they've felt, the stories that they've told. What can you say about the continued passion that these guys, Isaiah Davis Allen and others, have put in for the game of lacrosse, not only just here, but just nationally? Can you speak on, the pride or what your thoughts are of that effort that they've put in?
Yeah, no, it's great. I was able to speak with those guys, off the field, and they're very passionate about it. And it's a tough position, right? Because in general, obviously, I can't speak on that, from personal experience, but
Mhm.
we're out there in a bubble, the first team back, first sport back in a pandemic, and there's all this stuff that's just going on. And I think to be able to get to the forefront and have a voice and take a stance and just show that there's things that are being done, and at the same time there's people that are backing them up. The continued the consistency is something that I've saw even after we left the bubble. So it's great to see, and we're here to support them as much as we can and make their voice be heard.
Who has better hair than Mikey Schlosser?
Nobody. I mean, the way that flow comes out of the back of his helmet, it's tough to beat. He's just a great guy, man. He's just a really good guy.
Who has a better mustache than Ryan Lee? I mean,
No,
I don't know. It seems like the Outlaws you got a lot of character and swag.
oh yeah, a lot of swag on that team. I mean, you just named two guys with some swag there, and then you got Max Adler, who's like drill sergeant guy, just
Oh,
doing push-ups in the
he leads
corner all
the
the time.
charge. I
Oh
know, I
yeah,
know. A few of the Boston Cannons players I've seen on social media are promoting the 16th annual Wells Crowther virtual 5K. This is a 5K race, of course, in honor of Wells Crowther, a 1999 graduate of Boston College who lost his life in one of the towers during 9/11. That story every single year. If anyone has not seen it or heard it, it is a fascinating 15-minute story that will make you bawl your eyes out. So the Wells Crowther 5K now, of course, because of COVID, it's being run virtually. Will you be participating?
I've seen some of the Cannons players post about it on Twitter, so I'll participate if you're going to participate.
Okay. All right. So I think we should just commit to it. Like one
All
day
right,
this week, we're going to do like an Insta live. If that
this
would
is
even be
something.
funny.
This is something easy for me to commit to. Since I have commitment issues, this is definitely something I can commit to.
So for those who are interested, yeah, the Wells Crowther 5K, it benefits the Wells Crowther Charitable Trust, which supports organizations committing to assisting young people in becoming exemplary adults through education, health, recreation, and character development. It's always presented to a Boston College senior, with the funds going to a nonprofit of their choice. So, it's kids,
That's
helping other
awesome.
501c3s. So I will be participating, and I think we should plan on that. Last question for
Let's do it.
the interview. Last question. Um, Do you know the colors of the roses and what they mean?
The colors of the roses.
Will you
Oh,
accept
boy.
my
Yellow rose?
will you accept my yellow rose, which means platonic friendship?
Yes, absolutely. I wish I had a lot more yellow roses. Is that what it really means?
Wait, hold on. I love roses. So my Hebrew name is Shoshana. My
Uh,
Hebrew name is Shoshana, which means rose.
oh, nice.
Yeah, and
That's my
my
mom's
middle
name.
name is yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, so my middle initial is R. People always think it's Rose, but it's really Robin. But yeah, so these are what the roses means. How do you not know this? You've been on
Well,
like 5 seasons of The Bachelor. You don't know what the
we
roses?
only do red roses, but
Okay,
are you sure yellow means that? Because I thought it meant I thought it was I thought yellow was sympathy.
sympathy, platonic friendship.
Okay.
That's what Google says. So red
Yeah.
roses mean red roses mean passion, love, and desire. White
Hmm.
roses mean innocence, purity, spirituality, and new beginnings. I
Okay.
just happened to pick this. I picked two dozen yellow roses the other day. So I'm
Perfect.
just all about. You want to talk about commitment issues? All about the platonic friendship rose.
There you go. I'm all in on the yellow roses.
Chris Bukowski, would you want to plug anything before I hand this rose off to you?
Plug anything? Oh no. Let's get this pandemic over with.
So we
Everyone
can play
stay
some damn
healthy.
lacrosse, man.
Let's play some lacrosse. Let's get to next season, and let's get fans back. Out watching lacrosse and in sports in general. And yeah, let's just power through this and hope for the best. And
Well, it's crazy because the Denver Outlaws are one team, but you guys packed 30,000 fans on a July 4th game. The fan base out in Denver is remarkable. And I'm sure
yeah,
that community is really hurting because listen, Denver Broncos, they might have beat the Patriots, but they suck.
yeah, they're bad. Let me tell you, and people are so passionate about lacrosse out here. We're actually going to be playing out of a new stadium next year out in Glendale, which we're super excited about. The rugby team used to play there. It's a perfect stadium for lacrosse, and we're so excited to be playing out there. So we're even more excited if we're going to be able to have fans over there. So hopefully, by the time the season gets rolling, we're back to some more normalcy.
Chris Bukowski on Instagram. You had like some lacrosse stick in one of the posts, and you were like, I just want to get picked up. Are you that good that you could play professional lacrosse?
I was telling Matt Bachman, I'm like, listen, and I was telling Junior too, it's like, let's get me rolling here. Let's start training now. I'm trying out for open tryouts next year. They just laughed at me, but I thought it would be fun. I'm more of a baseball player than a lacrosse player. But hey, I think, if Junior can play when he's, 47, I feel like I could maybe hang for a couple minutes.
I don't know. We'll throw you a net.
No, those guys are crazy.
And a cup on you.
Goalies are insane. I could never stand in net like those guys.
I agree. Well, Chris, thanks so much for your time. This was very fun.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.